All praises to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, the witness, the elders, and apostles of Jim who were well, Shalom, for elect. I'm gonna play this video.
Got the gun on me. Get away. She got the gun on me. He wasn't hit me with the car. Call him. I'm telling. Get the license plate. Get the license plate. Get the license plate now. Cause you were never about to hit me with the damn car. You hit me with the car. Both of y'all put guns down on me, okay? I got it. Don't you jump behind? No, I ain't jumping behind your car. What you want? Your husband was hitting me. Do you see that? Do you see that? They both point that gun on me.
There is the accuser of thy brethren. You know, I'm gonna get into why I'm showing these videos in a minute. This Jake.
500.
Meet Jerry. He lives just outside Charlotte, North Carolina.
I'm a truck driver, owner of Triple J Logistics.
Jerry manages 2 trucks and 2 drivers. He used the trucking industry to turn his life around after leaving prison a decade ago.
I got my commercial driver's license in 2012 when I got out of prison. I started my company in 2015.
With his business going well, Jerry looked into expanding his fleet.
I was looking to add on a third truck to increase my revenue of my company, but that didn't happen.
That didn't happen because he did something completely legal. Fly domestically with cash.
I was going to buy a truck for my business from an auction in Phoenix. They had the brand that I liked. I like that ISX motor. I love it. It was one of them reactions where I needed to go get this thing.
When he stepped off the plane in Phoenix, Arizona to pick up his luggage, Jerry was confronted by law enforcement.
And he pulled out his badge and he said, may I see your ID? I passed him my ID. He asked me, was I carrying any drugs? I told him no. He asked me, was I carrying any large sums of money? I said yes.
Jerry was taken to a back office where he was interrogated for an hour.
I never thought anything was wrong. I just thought he wanted to take a look at the money and verify where I had got this income, and he was going to let me go with my money.
Police refused to believe that the money was Jerry's, but the only evidence they had was his old criminal convictions.
About an hour later, he came out with a piece of paper and laid it on the desk. He said, if you don't sign this paper, then you're going to be arrested. And I didn't know arrested for what, so eventually I signed the paper, and he told me I was free to go.
Officers took all the money Jerry was carrying, and now the government is working to keep it through civil forfeiture.
I was carrying $39,500. I got the money from saving, a loan from my family members, and I paid myself through my business.
Jerry's business has been hurting because he doesn't have a third truck or the money he was saving.
Ever since they...
And I'm not gonna play all of that. You know, if you could look at that Jake, the scriptures talk about the continence of a man. You know, you can look at that Jake and tell he's not no criminal like that. You know. But this is what Esau does. You know, he's the accuser of thy brethren, and his hate, you know, tests perpetually. And I bring those 2 videos out to say this. You know, I was talking to I'm gonna assume it was Jake, because you know, the slickness of his mouth, I can only assume is Jake. You know, he has the zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. You know, and I speak to this brother often, but it's like you know, he just doesn't get it. You know, and it's like I was speaking to him, and he brought out this scripture. Because he basically said, you know, that there's no point in me learning about the scriptures. You know, when the Lord comes, he's gonna deal with me more severely than he's gonna deal with him. This is Luke 12:47. And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. And that's what he basically said to me. He said, well, you know what? I don't really get into the script. I believe in the Lord, but I don't really get into the scriptures, because the more you get into it, the more you're going to be susceptible to being beaten with many stripes, because you know the Lord's will. And I was like, I was looking at him, I was thinking to myself, do you not realize by the fact that you're aware of that means that you you basically marked yourself, right? And it's like he didn't get it. He was talking about how the scriptures were seen through. They're basically a series of dreams. All the scriptures came to the men of the Lord or the prophets through dreams. And I said, you know, there's a difference between dreams and visions, you know. And I even had to look into the word, you know, because he was basically saying they're dreams, and I'm saying there's a difference between dreams and visions, you know. And you can have a dream and it not be of the Most High, you know. It can be from a spirit on the left hand side. It said vision, the ability to think about or plan. Oh, that's not it. 2, an appearance or seeing someone or something in a dream or trance or as a supernatural apparition. And yeah, the prophets had visions, you know, but it weren't dreams, because, you know, a dream is really a carnal thing. You know, you can be not in the truth and have dreams. But a vision is completely different from a dream. And it was like I told him he was being pedantic, and he said I was being pedantic. And I said, at the end of the day, you're saying the Bible come from dreams, but you have real life accounts of Yahushua, King David, you know, a whole host of the patriarchs of the Bible going through their everyday lives. Those weren't interpreted through dreams. Those were actual accounts of people living their lives. And it's like he didn't want to understand. And I said, you know, Esau's the wicked. And I had to break down, you know, when the wicked rule, the people mourn. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. And he you know, he conceded on that, and he said, okay, well, you know what, you're right. You know, these people are wicked. And I was like, okay, well, if they're wicked, then what's the play here as so-called black people? And I was like, there's nothing we can do. We don't have a standing army. We don't have any weapons that can take these people out. What essentially is going to happen is these people are going to have to take themselves out, which is what they're doing. And he agreed with me on that. But what he doesn't believe is that the Lord is doing it. You know, he understands to the degree that the Lord controls things, but he doesn't understand that. And it's like, I was looking at him, I was like, you know, it's a scary position to be in, a situation where you know the Lord is omnipotent and you know the Lord exists, but you don't believe in his power. And you think to yourself, because you're not doing the work, or you're not trying to get closer to the Lord and do what you're supposed to do, that you're safe. And I've spoken to this, because he lives around my area, and I see him and I speak to him every now and again. And I was talking to him, and I've at least spoken to him for 2 years, and he was like, I know who you are. You're an Israelite. And I was looking at him, I was thinking, yo, you're a bit slow, mate. Because the funny thing is, I gave him the videos for the brothers, you know, Elder Manasseh Akbar. Specifically, I gave him Elder Manasseh Akbar's channel. And the fact that he said it to me shows that he didn't even look on the links that I sent him. So it's like, and I've seen it a lot of the time. Sometimes I'll go on the highways and byways with the brothers, and Jake will just come up just to cause contention. They don't want to act. They're not trying to listen. They're really just trying to talk and give you their opinion on things. And he said to me, he was like, yeah, I read the Bible, but it's my interpretation, you know? And I was like, I didn't say it to the time, but I was thinking to this guy, like, it's like me saying I'm a plumber, I'm a self-taught plumber, but I'm more astute and I'm more competent and I'm more professional than somebody who has been taught by a master plumber, right? Or has experience by being taught by other people who are in the profession. And I've looked at, you know, the teachings of people who are master plumbers. You're not going to be a master plumber if you learn to plumb by yourself, as opposed to somebody who's learning from other people who's been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 plus years. You know, me personally, you know, I watch the videos of the elders and apostles. I go on the highway, you know, I speak to certain brothers. They've been on the highways and byways for 9+ years. You know, even like with all due respect to those brothers, there's certain times where they'll bring up scriptures talking personally to me, and I know those scriptures, you know, but I don't I already know that. I just sit there and I just, You know, I listen. You know, I don't try to be prideful about it. And Jake act like he knows something, and you really don't know nothing. Because how do you know when everything you know is from yourself? You've not learned from anybody. How can you be more skilled than somebody who's learned from people who are more astute and have a more in-depth knowledge about a subject matter than you? And he's like, he doesn't understand that. And I was looking at him, I was thinking, you know what, you're in a scary situation. This is Luke 12:45. And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. And this is what he was saying to me. But he knows he's supposed to be in the scriptures, but he's not going to do it. And he doesn't think because of that he's going to be beaten with many stripes. But clearly, you know, that's not the case. Because when you look at Ezekiel 9:4, it says here, I'm going to start 4. And the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. So the Lord said, set a mark upon the foreheads that sigh and cry for all the abominations in the midst thereof. So what does that mean? Basically, he's making a separation between, you know, those who really believe in the Lord, who are in anguish at the fact that this man is ruling like a little pagan, as opposed to the other people who know it's wrong but just go along to get along. By you not being marked, you've been marked. You know, if I come across somebody and I put an X on somebody's head, and I put an X on three out of 10 people's heads, you know, or sorry, 1 out of 3. I put an X on one out of 3 people, and I say that whoever's not got an X on them, you know, you kill them. By me not putting a mark on you, I've marked you by not marking you. So he doesn't even realize he's been marked by not being marked. And that's a scary, you know, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. So he thinks he's gonna get us scot-free. Just the sheer ignorance of Jake just makes me laugh. And I was thinking to myself, well, so you've heard about the Israelites, but you don't believe in the scriptures. So at that point, I was like, you know what? There's no helping you at that point, because you heard the gospel and you've turned your back on the gospel. Because I wasn't even trying to put everything on him at once. I was trying to, you know, reel him in slowly. But when I realized he's heard about the gospel, I thought to myself, you know what? Yeah, no, the Lord's not dealing with you, man, because you clearly heard it before and you thought it was bull. And he was basically saying how, you know, those in the truth. He was like, yeah, you Israelites, you're very prideful, like you know it all. It's like you think you have the answer. Yeah. I do 100% believe that, you know, the men of the Lord have the answer, because you know, I don't know about other brothers in the truth. When you look into, you know, Illuminati, when you look into the banking system, this is the only thing that encompasses all those things into one, you know, into one concept. Nothing else does. Christianity doesn't. Islam doesn't. Nothing in this world does. Nothing really you know, that even talking about, you know, regeneration or reincarnation, you know, that makes perfect sense to me. And then I asked him, I said, okay, well, if a child is 5 years old, you know, when he dies, does he go to heaven? He was like, of course it does, it's pure. And I'm like, it's a child, it's not lived his life. So you think the Most High is so corrupt that he's going to have a 5-year-old live his life for 5 years, he's going to die and go to heaven? Does he go to heaven as a baby? And it's like, he was like, yeah. He didn't even know to answer it. And it's like, the scriptures tell you you're reincarnated. So if you die at 5 years old, it's because of something you've done in a previous life, and you're going to come back and you're going to live your life again. See, that makes sense as opposed to you being 5 years old or 3 months old and you die and you go to heaven. You know, and I brought that scripture, you know, what's that? Hang on, let me get this. This is Proverbs 20:11. Even a child is known by his doings, whether his work be pure and whether it be right. So I basically said, you know, if it's a baby, he doesn't even have the concept of right and wrong. You know, it's not a child to know that, but at the same time, it's like you're saying this child can go to the heaven because, you know, can go to the heavens because he's pure. And I brought out the scriptures of Elijah, you know, and people thinking John was Elias, and he's just like it wasn't getting fruit. It wasn't getting through to him. Like the Lord just put a still vault in his mind so that anything spiritual he can't comprehend, and he doesn't even realize he's been marked by the Lord. He really is going out here thinking he's doing something. You know, that's a scary thing, man. Exodus 32:9, and the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, let my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I will make of thee a great nation. So the Lord knows that Jake is stiff-necked. The Lord knows that Jake is not trying to hear nothing. This is what Jake does, man. Jake does whatever he wants, talking about, as long as I don't hurt anybody, I'm a good person. So Jake will go and steal something and talk about, as long as I don't hurt anybody, I'm a good person. You go and steal a parcel from somebody and say, as long as I'm not hurting anyone, I'm a good person. But you're taking something from somebody else. And I've seen it before where Jake Jake is so deluded. And I've seen a man, I've heard a man tell me, I've gone and I stole a parcel of dog food from off this woman's doorstep, and I don't know why I did it. And this person will turn around and say, I have morals. I'm looking at, man, I'm like, do you actually realize the contradiction in what you said? This is Jake. Jake doesn't even realize when he's being contradictory. Acts 8:31. And he said, how can I, except some man guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. There you go. I'm gonna start 28. Acts 8:28. Was returning and sitting in his chariot, read Isaiah the prophet. Then the Spirit said unto Philip, Go near and join thyself to this chariot. And Philip ran thither to him, and heard him read the prophet Isaiah, and said, Understandest thou what thou readest? And he said, How can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he should come up and sit with him. So he desired somebody to come and teach him, and he knew unless somebody taught him, he wouldn't have a great understanding of the subject matter. You know, whatever industry you're in, if you learn from somebody who's who's seasoned in, you know, in that profession, in that industry, you're going to be much more proficient than somebody who's new, who's learning by himself. So he really thinks him reading the Bible and having his own interpretation he's going to have a higher understanding of the scriptures and the Most High than somebody who's learned from somebody else. You know, that's how much of a deceiving and a lying spirit that the Most High has put on him, and he doesn't even understand that. And that's real scary, man. You know, brothers have to be grateful that they're in the truth and they understand, you know, what it is, and they understand the laws and they understand this precept upon precept. Because Jake will just take the scriptures, read it linear, and just take it, you know, on a face-by-face basis, and be going off talking about, you know, the scriptures were full of dreams. They're just dreams. People were dreaming and they woke up and they wrote it down. It's all dreams. You know, some were visions, some were visions, and some were real accounts of what actually happened. And he was like, do you believe everything in the Bible? And I said, yes. You know, I do believe Yahushua did that. Because do you not believe that the Most High can do whatever he wants to do? Some of these people, and I've seen it before, again, I'll finish off with saying this. Some of these people, it doesn't matter how much you try and reason with them, they're not going to get it, you know, and you just have to leave them to it. And I told him, you know, I hope when all this, when SHTF, you know, comes across, I hope I see you, man. Because I tell you something, I'm not sharing my can of beans with you. I'd rather share. If I had 7 cans of beans, I wouldn't give him 1 can of bean. If I saw the brothers and I had 2 cans of beans, I'd give the brother at least 1 can of bean. Him, no. Screw Jake, man. Jake don't get it. Jake don't even want to know who the Lord is. All praises to the Most High Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, double honors to the elders and apostles of Jim, well, shalom to the hopeful elect.